It's Blu-ray Collection Part 31. Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to part 31 of a look at my Blu-ray collection. We're onto a new shelf. First chunk of these, a lot of them are in alphabetical order because it's the back half of the shelf, which is the original. When I sorted it onto the Blu-ray shelves into alphabetical order, front of the shelf is stuff I subsequently bought and stuck in front. It's more or less in order of watching. Films, TV, no box sets. Box sets are multi-film collections or multi-series collections of a TV show. Let's get cracking. First up we have Starship Troopers. This is another film that I have owned on every format. Apologies for the lighting. It is 5:45 in the morning. So it's dark outside. I've got a lamp on and white screen in front of me. But it's shining in my eyes a bit, so apologies if I'm a bit blur. Yeah, film I've owned on VHS, DVD and now Blu-ray. Film I saw in the cinema, film I absolutely love. I'm a big Paul Verhoeven fan anyway. It's enough rattle, but it's not in, it's in place, in situ. Yeah, big Paul Verhoeven fan anyway, but this is a great film that I really enjoy. Met a couple of the cast as well. Good start to these videos. Next up we have Argo. Okay, so I think I've got a mixture here of ones from the front and ones from the back. Next up is Argo, the extended cut. Absolutely fantastic film. If you're not familiar with the plot, you should be, because you should watch this film. But basically, where are we? Iran. There's a revolution and they take over the US embassy. So the CIA have to get the Americans out of Tehran who have escaped the embassy and have survived. So to do so, they're being held. No, they're not being held. They're in a house hiding. To get them out, Ben Affleck comes up with his plan to get permission to go over there to film this made-up science fiction film, but needs to be shot over there. I'm not doing this very well, as I say, it's early in the morning, apologies, and Willow's distracting me as well. Yeah, he makes up this sci-fi film, but he's got to go over there to film, so he gets permission to go over there, and he has to get them out of the country, basically. I'm not doing it justice, but it is an amazing film. Written and directed, certainly directed by Ben. Did he write it? No, he didn't write it, but directed by Ben as well. Fantastic film. Next up is Oblivion, starring Tom Hanks and Morgan Freeman. Good film, not a great film, but a good film. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't one that I thought, wow, can't wait to watch that again. So it's set in the future. Everybody lives in sci-fi type houses, but well away from everybody else. He's a security repairman, and it's set on Earth, but sort of most of the population are no longer living on Earth, and things occur which make him realise that everything isn't what it seems. It's hard to explain without spoiling too much, but yeah, good film. I always enjoy Tom Cruise. Next up we have District 9. So this was it the debut? I think it was Neil Blomkamp's debut film. Produced by Peter Jackson. So it's set in Johannesburg in South Africa in a future where aliens have landed on Earth and become basically our slaves. And they're all put in... Let's get this right. Yeah, so they're sort of exiled to sort of slums on the outskirts of the city. And it's basically pretty much apartheid metaphor. So the cops are mainly white cops, if not all white, I can't remember, are very anti the aliens and treat them very badly. But the chief of the protagonists of the cops, played by, what's his name? That's not even written on here, this is silly. That's because he wasn't a name at the time. Chapeau... let's have a look. Sharlto Copley gets bitten, I think it is. And he starts turning into one of the aliens anyway. But yeah, excellent film, very funny, great effects. Highly recommend. This is A Lonely Place to Die, which I purchased because Melissa George is in it. It's very good horror thrillery type film. So 5 mountaineers go climbing in Scottish Highlands in a remote area. They find a young girl buried in an underground chamber, just being kept alive with an oxygen or an air pipe to the surface. So they try to rescue her, but it turns out that she's been kidnapped and she's worth a lot of money, so the kidnappers are trying to get her back, basically. But yeah, really good film, as well as Melissa Sean Harris is in it, who's always excellent. But yeah, nice little understated film. Now we have Gone Girl. Big hefty package, because it's also got... So, the Rosamund Pike's character in this is, or was, the subject as a child, was a subject of a set of children's books. And this has got a replica, Amazing Amy, this has got a replica of one of the books in there. Plus, obviously, the film in a little digipack, and it's really thick cardboard as well. It feels like there should be something else, but... Oh, it's got a... I only just noticed that sort of stuck on the back. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Another excellent film, another Ben Affleck, directed by David Fincher, based on the novel. So basically, Rosamund Pike goes missing. The speculation is that her husband, played by Ben Affleck, Nick, has killed her. And so his life... he's being investigated, and it turns out he's having an affair as well with Emily Ratajkowski. But it's not a spoiler, because you know very soon that she's actually just run away from him and sort of is framing him, and she's having an affair. Well, she goes to stay with Neil Patrick Harris, who's an old childhood friend who's in love with her. And I can't say too much, but very, very good film. This is Stone, which I got because of the presence of Mia Jovovich, also starring Robert De Niro and Edward Norton. So, let's get this right. Edward Norton is in prison because he covered up the murder of his grandparents. Mia plays his wife or girlfriend, whichever it is. His name just went straight out of my head then. Robert De Niro is, for want of a better phrase, his parole officer, and is in charge of whether he can be released. So they try and persuade him that he can be released. Which includes Mia seducing him. There's a bit more to it than that, but I can't quite remember what. But it was very, very good. Skyfall. Hopefully you know by now I'm a huge Bond fan. Skyfall, when I came out of the cinema from watching this on the day it came out, it rocketed up to probably my third favourite Bond film. It's probably gone down a bit since then, after the initial thrill, but it is excellent. I'm sure the vast majority of you have seen it. It's a very personal film for Bond. Sorry, Willow is distracting me. She's playing with my earphones, which are dangling off of a shelf. and she sat on the empty shelf where all these were, and she's just batting them about, and she's going to come and say hello, is she? Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Say hello. And now she's going to go on my windowsill. Okay. Yeah, very personal. The start of it is him and Eve, played by Naomi Harris, who I'm sure most of you now know is Moneypenny, trying to catch a baddie. There's a big fight on top of a train, and the only way to sort of resolve it is for Eve to, using a sniper's rifle, shoot the bad guy, but she misses and hits Bond, and he falls into a river and washes away, and the next thing we see he's recuperating in the Bahamas somewhere. But then he gets called back into action. He's trying to find out what's going on. Willow, will you settle? And I don't need to describe all this to you. It's Skyfall. You've mostly seen Skyfall. It's excellent. I'm filming them early because it's a good opportunity to get them filmed. But it is early. I'm not awake yet. By the fourth or fifth one of these, I'll be fine. So I apologise. Next up is Showgirls. I've also waffled a fair bit on this. This is one of my favourite films. First of all. This is the 15th anniversary Sensational edition. This is Dutch, I believe, because at the time it was the only Showgirls available on Blu-ray. It's now had a release over here, which I've also picked up, which you will see at some point. But yes, I love Showgirls. I know it's not a great film, but I went to see it in the cinema when it came out, day of release, in Cardiff when I was at university. Primarily because it had two, at that time, unreleased Prince songs on the soundtrack. Also because it had Elizabeth Berkley in it, who I used to love in Saved by the Bell, so the thought of going to see a film in which she was naked a lot was hugely appealing, and it remains so to this day. It's as I say, it's not a great film, but it's a Paul Verhoeven film, and as I've already mentioned, love Paul Verhoeven as well. If you sort of understand where he was approaching, or how he was approaching this as almost a satire, and you know, it's all tongue-in-cheek from the filmmaker's perspective, you can probably enjoy it more. It has become something of a cult classic, but yeah, it's a film I absolutely love. I don't know why they call this a sensational edition, because it's got no extras or anything on it. It hasn't even got a menu. You just put it in and it plays. Okay, let's get these in the right order. With Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, directed by Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes, and the sequel, Game of Shadows. Really enjoyed both of these. I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan. I've already shown many copies of Hounds of the Baskervilles. I can't remember when I first sort of fell in love with Sherlock Holmes. I think it was when I was quite young, watching the Jeremy Brett TV series. Might even have been a bit before that, watching Basil Rathbone films. I'm not quite sure what order I saw those in, but I have been a Sherlock Holmes fan since probably about 7 or 8. Read all the stories, the Conan Doyle ones anyway. Absolutely love them, and just love any filmed version of, and these are both a lot of fun. Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, excellent biopic of Ian Dury, who is one of my favourite artists. Brilliant performance by Andy Serkis as Ian, and you've got Naomi Harris, Olivia Williams, Ray Winston, Arthur Darvill, all sorts of people in here. Mackenzie Crook, Michael Maloney, Noel Clarke, Toby Jones. Just really good cast, really good performance. Great story of a very interesting man. Ian, if you don't know, was struck with polio as a kid, so he didn't sort of develop properly, and he always had walking difficulties. He had very troubled relationships with his family, both his birth family and the family he married, and his son Baxter. And this is sort of the story of it all. But yeah, very, 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 very good film. And we'll end this part with Serenity. So this was the film of the TV series Firefly, Joss Whedon's series that he started just as Buffy was ending, I think it was. I think it was during the last season of Buffy he started Firefly. Certainly Angel was still running. I think Buffy still was. It had one series but was cancelled, but since then everybody's realised it is an amazing TV series. I think I've shown it already on Blu-ray, I think. But it's set in the future where basically it all ended up, the world was run jointly by the Americans and the Chinese, so everybody speaks Chinese and English. It's basically a western in space where the crew of Serenity, which is the spaceship in Firefly, are basically a ragtag of ex-military and a doctor and his sister who are on the run, and a shepherd, which is basically a priest or a preacher. And they go around basically doing slightly nefarious jobs to earn money, but they're good guys at heart, so often, you know, they end up doing the right thing rather than the wrong thing, if you see what I mean. But yeah, it was cancelled far too early. Fortunately, Joss was able to write, direct and make Serenity, which was the film. It's just an amazing film. I mean, it's especially good if you're a fan of the TV series, but I think it works very well as a standalone film. Everybody's reintroduced, so you don't need to know the characters in advance, and you soon learn what they are and, you know, where they're coming from and their pros and cons. By this time, the actors knew the characters inside out, so it's brilliant performances all around, and just a great, great, great film. Okay, so that's it for part 31. All the past parts are on the playlist. Future parts will be as well, obviously. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.